Hello again. My name is Lawrence Fendleton. My family calls me Uncle Lucky Larry. Purpose of today's podcast is to show you a presentation regarding a new real estate limited partnership, and I think you're going to like this. Now, we call this Legacy Anchor Partners, and it is specifically a real estate limited partnership, and this one is for high net worth individuals. So this legal disclaimer says it pretty well for you, but you should obviously read the full private placement memorandum and consult with your advisors and your CPAs before you do anything. But I do want to point out that we are working with Corporate Services of Nevada, and they're experts in compliance with all legal aspects of the business formation and the operation of our project here. That little map there shows where the property is located. It's called Rocky Ledge Estates, and it's right off of Highway 299, which was recently upgraded. They widened it. They put in a center turn lane, bicycle lanes all the way, and when they did that, they granted us now access directly from Highway 299. What's in our backyard? 2.2 million acres of national forest. It's an amazing place. So we have an unfair advantage. Our unfair advantage is that this limited partnership will be debt-free. We're not planning on borrowing any money here. The money to build comes from two areas. One is my capital contribution to the limited partnership of the land, the plans, the team, the structure to build it. I will be the general partner. The other comes from our investors. And when they invest in this, we no longer have a need to get a new mortgage. You know, this is a $10 million build, a $10 million project. When we're done, the resort will probably be worth closer to $20 million, but we're not selling it. We're building it to rent. This is a short-term rental play, and we're going after the MICE industry. MICE, of course, is meetings, incentives, conventions, and entertainment. And with large groups of people seeking outdoor adventure, we have a great opportunity for them. Now, when you avoid the monthly mortgage, it means that there's $90,000 a month on a project like this that then flows back to the partners via a K-1. But that's not all. The K-1 is issued to your private family business. It's independent. So the way this is funded is you take your retirement savings and you transfer them into your family legacy. In a way, it's kind of like giving your inheritance to your kids. You're securing it in a real estate-backed passive income opportunity. And by doing that, you have some significant tax advantages as well as protecting your family from going through that god-awful thing called probate or fighting over the trust or anything. Believe me, I have had a lot of experience in this area, and this method, once you own equity in real estate, and equity that's producing you income every year, then that income flows to your family business. Now you have complete control over how you spend that money. You could spend it on salaries and benefits for your team and have your team actively involved in the operation of this travel and hospitality-based business, or you could choose to just be passive and have the profits go right back into your self-directed IRA if it's funded that way. When you meet with Don Harmer at Corporate Services of Nevada, we'll show you all legal ways but to process this. But a Wyoming LLC seems to be a pretty popular place to place it. So a K-1 means that our California entity that builds it will deduct all of its normal business expenses, and then all profits and all depreciation passes through to the owners. My family will be a 50% partner and we will be the general partners in this limited partnership. I would love to have one more 50% partner. If that's you, please get a hold of me. It does work very, very well because we have 8 private resort homes. It works well to potentially slice this into 8 limited partnerships, each putting up $1.25 million, and each then owning 6.25% of the limited partnership. Now, when we do it that way, obviously, if I had one partner that owned 50%, then they're going to get the private use of each of the 8 what we call private resort homes. We'll be talking about that. They'll get it, each of them for 1 week, or they can get all 8 for 1 week. And if you bring all 8 together, you could put together groups of up to 128 people for your family wedding, your corporate retreat, anything that you choose. And the IRS allows us as owners to use our private residence for 2 weeks a year. And so this is tax-free. And in addition to that, we're going to have an on-site concierge. And that person is managing our resort for us. They're our vice president of hospitality. And that means you never have to go there to host your guests or to host any of the short-term rentals or any of the conventions. We have an employee that does that for us. We also have employees that are going to build it all for us. You know, this area, when you see it, you'll see Boerne is near Boerne Falls. Boerne Falls is a wonderful place. It's right in the heart of the what they call the Pitt River Valley. And I've lived in California my whole life, and I've explored it all, seen the whole state. And this is an area that is truly remarkable because massive outdoor adventure, beautiful place, and hardly any people. When you go and you fish a stream or a lake up in this area, you're not going to be standing elbow to elbow with 50 other tourists. Okay, that's the advantage that we have in this area. So this, we talked about this, is a seamless legacy transition, because when you die, and we all will, then you've already given this gift to your family. And your family owns the business that owns this income-producing passive income vehicle. So somebody else takes over your position, takes your salary, your benefits. You decide how you want to manage that. And that's between you and your CPA. This limited partnership, called Legacy Anchor Partners, is going to simply issue a K-1 for all the profit. And remember, I said we're debt-free. So that means there's no mortgage payment. That means that $90,000 per month is not going to a bank. It's flowing back to our partners. That's an unfair advantage, what that I kind of like. It is a blue ocean location. I mentioned this earlier because we're really where a lot of people go every year. I think about 500,000 visit world famous Boerne Falls, but their only option is to stay in a campground or to drive back down to the city after they're done. There are a few 2-star motels in the town of Boerne. There's a couple of other resorts. Shasta has a very nice resort that's been very successful for 35 years. And Mount Shasta is about 55 minutes north on Highway 89. So it's just a short drive if you want to go there for skiing or anything like that. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but because we're in a rural area, when I took bids to build these structures, there's going to be 12 structures in all. When we took bids, the subcontractors all included a markup for their travel there, their hotels, and their meals for their team while constructing this. And it dawned on me that why don't we just hire our own people? We're working with a consultant. His name is Keith Kelch, and he teaches you how to be an owner-builder. Keith has 35 years experience in construction. And as a consultant on this project, he will be working directly with me as the general manager. Now, I have 3 sons that are already in construction. Ryan owns a business called Proper Engineering, and he's prepared to do all of the groundwork, all the trenching, the foundations, the roads, everything that it takes with heavy equipment. Cameron, my youngest, is a licensed electrician, and he's prepared to set us up with the very highest quality, low energy, best lighting, best everything. And he's also a solar expert, and he learned most of that from his older brother Jake. And Jake is a solar engineer, but before that he was a Finnish carpenter, probably one of the best Finnish carpenters I've ever seen. You know, they used to trim out all of the homes that were being built by my brother Tom, who was a general contractor, and he built houses in this area for a number of years. He would build 3 or 4 houses a year and pay subcontractors to do it, and then sell it, and then do it again and again. And he made a living, very nice living. Tom now operates a winery called Findleton Estate Winery. It's in Camino, and he's very successful in that endeavor as well. Tom just won the Golden Bear Award at the California State Fair for his Tempranillo. And that's a very prestigious award, and his wines are outstanding. So I'm getting a little off track here, but the owner-builder opportunity is very significant because the Phase 1 partners, which you would be one in this project, are going to appreciate somewhere in the neighborhood of a 30 to 35% discount in the build cost. That's significant. And then remember, we're also not selling this or buying this property through a realtor, so that's an extra 6%. And then the other advantages that we have in doing this is I purchased the land directly from the bank. This was a fully approved, shovel-ready subdivision that just emerged at the wrong time. They got their final approval after $1.7 million in improvements, roads, water, fire hydrants, paved streets. It took them quite a while to get all of that, and they got their final approval in 2008. There was a market correction. They gave the property back to the bank after selling the first, I think they sold about 5 or 6 parcels at around $200,000. These are 5-acre estate parcels. No one has built in this subdivision. We own 8. We own the largest anchor, the beautiful property. It's 11.5 acres, and that's where we're planning on building our event center, one of our private resort homes, and also a cottage for our concierge to live in. And he'll be our on-site person that'll host, make sure we get 5-star reviews. So we're going to cap this at either 1 partner or 8. I don't want to, but if we go on to 25 limited partners, then the added advantage of barter and use of the property goes away. That's something that is only available for Phase 1, 50% owners or 6.25% owners. And I can explain to you why. It just becomes too complicated if we have 25 limited partners. But if you're one of those 25, you're putting up, I think it's $400,000, and you would get, we're projecting a 14 to 15% return on your investment. That's a very nice ROI. So I'm talking about some of our partners. I already mentioned it. The California corporation that we're going to create is called Rocky Ledge Estates, or Rocky Ledge Development and Hospitality. The development is the team of our employees that builds it, and the hospitality is the vice president that lives on the property and manages it for us. That's the person that interacts with the AI software we're using to do all of our bookings online. And you, as a partner, are going to be able to have access to that daily. So you can not only see what we're doing with our calendars and our bookings and things like that, but you can actually see video of what the house cleaners see when they come in to clean each of our properties, and then you see it after they leave. All of that is available online, and it's all on an app on your phone. So you're just going to simply use your phone to stay in contact. And it's very important that you have that, because if you want to qualify as a real estate professional, there's a certain number of hours required. And if you want to actively help us identify and find more clients, you're going to refer them to our hospitality manager. And when you're actively involved and qualify, and it's totally up to you to qualify as a real estate professional, then all these things become deductible. Your travel, your hotel, your airfares, your meals, a number of things. And I want you to talk to your CPA and your business advisor to learn about that. But you can teach these skills to somebody in your family. They can take these deductions. And so if your limited partnership gets a K1 for $100,000 or $125,000 for the year, you might want to reduce that to a 10% profit by expensing salaries, benefits, cars, business travel, anything else you can. I'm not a CPA. You need to talk to yours, but I've studied this, and I've spent a whole year, my whole career in business travel. And when I retired, I can't tell you how disappointed I was to no longer have that business card to throw down to pick up the meal that we just had after having talked about a business and writing it off as entertainment. So that's my team. It's my wife and I. Martina is very skilled in catering. We've run businesses. We've done a lot in the hospitality. Together, we had a business on the South Fork of the American River, a private residence club, and beautiful experience. We were fortunate to sell that right as the market collapsed. So we got out of that business, and it's now one of the most incredible estates in Northern California. So we have Ryan, Jake, Cameron, Keith, and we're working closely with the Bernie Falls Chamber of Commerce. They're very excited about our business because we have the potential to bring 32 fresh wallets with money to their community, and that's money that will be spent in their restaurants, their shops, their tour guides, all of those types of things. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and my track record, okay? I was a unsuccessful draft dodger. I mean, come on, in 71, it wasn't very popular. Vietnam was going on, and the media was calling us baby killers and things, so it was a horrible time. I dropped out of college. I was going to Fullerton College at the time, and I became a member of the U.S. Navy Reserve. And when I did that, I signed up as a corpsman. And as a hospital corpsman, the Navy loaned me to the U.S. Marine Corps. Best duty I've ever had. I loved working with the Marines, but I never went to Vietnam. I was very fortunate. But I did get trained in anatomy, physiology, hospital routine. And when I got out, there was this brand new technology that was just making its way out of the university basements. It was a technology known as ultrasound. And so I was trained with my background by the manufacturers of the ultrasound equipment on how to operate it. And man, you know the future of ultrasound. It took off. It's still one of the best technologies around. And I was just fortunate enough to be number 135 on the registry. There's nobody below 100. Shane Abowit is my good friend, and he was with a A for an Abowit. He's number 101. So I know there's nobody below 100. And anyway, if you ask now, they're in the tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of registered sonographers. And I was 135. I was very fortunate in that I worked, I spent a career of 27 years in diagnostic imaging. I worked for ADR, Advanced Diagnostic Research, and they were the inventors of real-time ultrasound. And twice I was the top rep. I got a couple of trophies. I got a handshake. It was quite an honor for me at that time, and it felt great. And then our company got purchased by Squibb Corporation, and we merged with Advanced Technology Laboratories. And I'll never forget that at the awards banquet. I got my trophy, I got my handshake, and I sat down. And then the top rep for ATL was given a 2-week Caribbean cruise, a fur coat for his wife, a gold-plated shotgun, and they had a different way of recognizing their top performers, and I loved it. At that meeting, the vice president of sales, wonderful guy, he's passed on, but Jack Spiratio stood up and he said, President's Roundtable, if you achieve 110% of quota, you will join me and all of the others that make 110% of quota, because we're going this next year to Monte Carlo, and we're going to stay at the Lowe's Monte Carlo, and we're going to really have a phenomenal time. So I made that trip. I did whatever it took, and took my wife, and had a wonderful time. And then the next year it was Hong Kong, and then it was Rio de Janeiro, and then it was Tahiti, and then it was Thailand. And so I experienced a lot of world travel, and I learned a lot about it. I know that when you are in foreign countries as a group, it's much nicer than just you and your wife lonely sitting on the beach or sitting, at dinner. If you have a group, your family, your friends with you, that is the way to travel, and that's what we're all about. So I made the President's Roundtable 7 times. I was recruited then away from ATL to a turnaround situation in the Bay Area, a company called Diasonics. Wonderful group of people. Diasonics was market dominant in ultrasound. They were my competitor for a number of years and very big in vascular ultrasound. And they're smart engineers there. Al Waxman invented MRI. And when they started and got into the MRI race, they were competing with giant companies like General Electric and Philips and Siemens, and so this Bay Area company had to divert most of its resources to MRI to stay competitive, and they did very, very well. But the ultrasound division sort of fell behind. You can imagine there wasn't enough resources to go around. So they sold the MRI division to Toshiba for something like $235 million. They had money. They were going back after the ultrasound market, and they recruited me to join them. And it turns out they really wanted my reputation in sales, and they offered me, the job. I met them. They were a great group of people when I interviewed, and I really liked it. But I was 17 years with Advanced Technology Laboratories, and I did not really want to change. But they came back and they said, what would it take to get you to make the move? And I, in my negotiating way, said, this is a good way to get them to say no. I'll tell them things that they'll certainly not agree to. So I put together this amazing list of requirements for me to make the move, and they said yes. And that's what moved me from Southern California to Northern California. Beautiful move package. Thank you, Diasonics. But I paid them back. I felt pretty good. That company had annual sales of around $37 million, I think, when I joined them. And GE, General Electric, bought them for $235 million. So they did very, very well. I needed to stay with GE to get my stock. And so it was an 18-month time. So I was with GE for 2 years, and I made their Circle of Excellence both years. I then went into the mother of all technology. I've loved technology. And positron emission tomography, people call it PET scans, is it's the most incredible imaging technology. It's actually a nuclear medicine procedure. My career was in ultrasound, but I love technology. And with PET, they actually inject a radioactive isotope, and then they track how your body metabolizes it. And man, I love that technology. These were $2 million scanners. And so I joined a company called Molecular Imaging out of San Diego, and we were one of the first companies to start servicing hospitals with a mobile PET scanner. We got the Department of Transportation to allow us to put radioactive material into a trailer and haul it down the road. We put a hot lab on the mobile coach. We pioneered all of that. Worked very closely with some great people, a good friend of mine, Rob Schumacher, and others. But mobile PET was a wonderful experience. I managed to be the salesman of the year there. We did 35 accounts in the West. We put together a virtual PET center in Portland, Oregon, where I had 7 hospitals that we serviced with one coach. And we put it together with a way in which any doctor could have their patient visit the coach anywhere, and that their hospital could bill it and read it. And we sent the images to them. So it was a virtual PET center, very advanced, very creative. And that was a fun time. Unfortunately, as in all technology, everything becomes obsolete very quickly. And in mobile technology, it's even worse because you're selling your service, and your service is competing with new companies entering that service sector. And the new companies always buy the latest and greatest technology. So when there's a technology change, it's very important that your company be able to stay up on it. And these are $2 million scanners and wonderful technology, but suddenly they started to merge that technology with CT scanners. And so when PET CT became available, the price was still around $2 million, but we had a fleet of mobile trailers that did not have a CT with our PET. So in the process of trying to upgrade that fleet, we entered a very dangerous debt spiral, and that caused that company to fail when the debt and the financing couldn't happen, because you can run a company successfully when you have one set of debt, but those first scanners were based on a 5-year life cycle, and we're 2 or 3 years into it, and suddenly buying new technology, so your debt doubles, and it was a mess. Learned a lot. Couldn't wait to get away from that. I was in love with my wife, Martine, and we owned River Gables. It was a private resort on the South Fork of the American River. Beautiful place. So we decided to convert that into a private residence club. It was really my way of getting all of our 7 children to move out. It was a defensive move. And they all gladly did it. They were all over 18 and moved out into the world on their own. And we converted and rented their bedrooms. And we did that successfully for a number of years. We created a business, a local restaurant, and deli, and then we had Love at First Bite gourmet catering. We started Take a Bite, which was a deli that is still going on to this day. Our kids run it. They moved it to South Carolina, where they've been the burger of the year 3 times in a row. Unbelievable. We know how to make good food. But anyway, I'm the father of 7, the grandfather of 9. The challenge that I've had my whole life is those 3 Venn circles there. You know, between financial wealth, legacy wealth, or freedom wealth, balancing between that 3-ring circus has always been a challenge for me. And I think that when you look into this business opportunity of joining me as a limited partner, you're going to really like the way in which those 3 circles come together at Rocky Ledge Estates, because you're doing this really for all of the right reasons. And again, we're giving it to our heirs. When we leave, we leave a legacy. That's a phenomenal opportunity. So the big picture, They say that outdoor adventure is a human's first addiction. California has a growing tourism sector. I think it's up 3.8%. Bernie Falls was declared by Theodore Roosevelt as the eighth wonder of the world. People come there from all over the world, and when you hear the roar of that waterfall or walk down and feel the mist of the Fern Valley and make that hike, it's something that is really, truly remarkable. Many people say it's the most beautiful waterfall, at least in the United States. I've been to Iguazu and I've been to Niagara Falls also, but the thing that's unique about Bernie Falls is that the same amount of water flows every single day of the year. It's they call it the eighth wonder. Here, let me show you a picture of the waterfall here. That's what it is. The water's actually coming out of those little lava tubes, and it's pretty cool. Do you see the wine glasses in there where that comes together? Once you see them, every time you look, it looks like that. But a spectacular waterfall. And what happens there is the water is coming out of the ground there as fast as it can. That's why it's always the same. Every single day of the year, over 100 million gallons of water come out of the ground there. It's coming out as fast as it can because the Pitt River Valley is what the Indians called Ajamawi, which is literally where water begins. The mountains of Shasta and Lassen and Bernie are snow-capped in the winter, and the snow melts, goes down into the valley. Fall River Mills, Ajamawi, all of that is a beautiful area up there. So Lassen is a park that's 35 miles south. It's great for day trips and hiking, and show the kids some bubbling pools and let them smell sulfur and hike to the top of the peak. It's got incredible things to do, but that is one of the things that if you're going to be a destination resort like we are, you need to have things that will draw people to your area. And we're literally a 3-mile horseback ride from Bernie Falls, and you get there by going on the Great Shasta Rail Trail, which was a railroad where they ripped up the tracks when the McLeod Timber or Railroad Company donated it. It became now a free trail that the public gets to use, and it's 90 miles through beautiful national forest. Great for riding horses or e-bikes or anything like that. And then the Pacific Crest Trail is also in our backyard. So very positive trends happening. We believe that the short-term rental market is going to grow by, I think they say 10.8%. So I think we're going to see a very long and a very nice, bright future for our approach. Now, this is what we're building. The very first structure to go up, there's 12 in total, will be a 100 by 500 foot shop. As a shop, it can have bathrooms, showers, office, kitchen, no living quarters. But our shop will also have a large bay, which we will use during the construction phase to stage all of our building materials. And that office will become my office for managing the construction project. Remember, we're hiring our own people, and this team of people will work together closely as employees. And I can't emphasize this advantage enough, because when you have an employee, you have full control. Okay? They work as a team, and if they're not getting along as a team, you can replace them. You can bring somebody else in. And when you bring a team together and they truly are getting along and working, they get better and better. My brother Tom taught me something quite a while ago. He said, Larry, if you want to build the perfect house, build the same one 3 times. And that was his whole strategy. He had a team of subcontractors that worked for him. In this area, he wasn't having to pay per diem or travel costs, so he was just hiring subs. Each of them were experts in their area. He had one sub that did framing, had another sub that did the electrical, another one that did the plumbing, another one did drywall, another one did roofing. He had finish carpenters. My son Jake worked for him for a number of years, learning to trim out these houses, worked with his son Tommy. Anyway, it's a phenomenal way for to build, but the problem is if you're an owner builder, everything needs to be done under contract. If you're not doing it with employees, you're doing it under contract. And if you want to change anything in the contract, you just want to move, make the door a little bit bigger or move a window. Anything that you want to do necessitates the contract to be revised, and that means lawyers get involved, prices go up, delay in construction. All of that we prevent by having direct employees. We're going to move some of my sons to the area. We're going to hire other people in the area, or if we need to, recruit people. But there will be a team of 8 working for us. And we already have the groundwork, the electrical, the finished carpentry, and a team started. We're going to add a mason because our whole resort is going to be built out of fireproof omni-block. We'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But this is really an exciting project. And we do have what they call CC&Rs. And CC&Rs are recorded with the county, and they specifically allow 4 horses per 5-acre property, and then the 11.5-acre property can have 8 horses. So we're with that in your backyard, we're planning on at least offering the corrals for people to bring their own horses there, and we probably will make arrangements and have some of the local ranchers and some of the people that own horses make arrangements to maybe lease them a horse for the week, so that families can get together and have a horse, take care of it, and have that as part of their overall experience. So remember I said omni-block. Well, that's what it looks like. Omni-block is a proprietary new way of building homes. And the guy who invented it played a lot with Legos, okay? And this block looks and functions like a traditional CMU, or concrete block. It costs a little bit more with the, but what it does is that you're able to put the insulation into the wall. So every time you lay one layer of blocks, you come along and put in the insulation. That insulation, by doing it that way, creates an enormous energy efficient system. So that's what the floor plan looks like on our private resort homes. We'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute, but the private resort home has 4 equal luxury suites, has 2 kids' rooms, has a great room with a kitchen, dining, family. It has a playroom, and it's on a 5-acre gated estate. And the nice thing when you order Omni-Block is he delivers it to you. You never have to cut a block. It's like putting Legos together. So the mason is going to be very, very important in our project, putting up those walls. They're 9'2" tall, and then we roll the trusses out on top of them. But the mason will be building off of a concrete slab on grade foundation, and that foundation is a very key part of our whole design. Not only does it need to be strong and long-lasting, but we're using radiant floor heating in that concrete so that our guests, if they want to get warm, you take your shoes off. Our heat comes from the concrete and it comes up, and we can cool it a little bit that way as well, but we will have split AC. Every room will have its own digital controlled thermostat, set it to whatever temperature you want. We put a lot into this. Now, in addition to the 8 private resort homes, those are our rentals. Each will house up to 16 guests, 4 families. And when we test marketed this, we went out and asked a whole bunch of people, and our target audience when we first opened will be working families. And there's like 6 million people that are within a 4-hour drive of our property. So Sacramento, Bay Area, Reno, anywhere in California, you can drive there. And we asked them, would you pay $250 a night for a 4,300 square foot, 6-bedroom, 6-bath estate on 5 acres, gated with 2.2 million acres in your backyard? Would you pay $250 a night? And you get a resounding, oh yeah, hell yeah. Where do I sign? We then tell them there's a caveat. The caveat is you need to invite your 3 best friends. It can be your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, uncles, best friends, college buddies, whatever, but you invite 3 other couples and they each pay $250 a night. And you each get an equal luxury king suite. These are beautiful rooms that are specifically crafted for 4 couples around a courtyard. And that's another big part of our design. So we're building 8 private resort homes. We're building 3 what we call Serenity Haven cottages. In our county, you're allowed to have an accessory dwelling up to 1,200 square feet. So we have a beautiful design of a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. One will be used by our concierge. One will be used by my family. And if you are the other 50% owner in the limited partnership, one will be yours, which means you have unlimited access to that 2-bedroom, 2-bath anytime you want. If we do the 8, then you will share that extra cottage with the other partners, which will give you roughly about 60 days a year that you'll be able to come up and stay at the resort for free. It's your property. The short-term rental laws say that you can only rent one property, one of the residences. The other can be leased. So if you wanted to, you could lease it out, but it's primarily going to be used for our concierge, who's doing all the work for us. And imagine you're the property manager and you need a plumber. Well, it's kind of nice to be able to call one of your employees and work on that. And the beauty of being a phase 1 partner in this is that we're building it for savings. Our strategy is to keep our costs low when we build. And then in the future, that development company will be building parcels in that same subdivision, in that same community. And when we do that, we'll be collecting the 30 to 35% profit on that. So now we own the development company and they continue. And if we build a short-term rental for any of our clients and they want us to be the property managers, we have a vice president of hospitality who would gladly welcome them into our network. And then the size of the groups that we can go after in the MICE market will go up. There's a total of 24 5-acre estates in our subdivision. We own 8 right now. So the investment opportunity, let me go through the details with you. The revenue stream is significant because this is debt-free. And the tax advantages are significant. Because we're all new construction with the great big beautiful tax bill, 100% bonus depreciation. So literally, if you put up the $10 million for the construction, you're going to have a $10 million 100% bonus depreciation. It passes through to you as a K1. That's amazing. I don't know where else you're going to find anything close to that. And because it's all new construction and we're using concrete and the latest technology, we're doing something else too. Because we're buying and building 12 and we're paying cash for all of this, we're going to establish distributorships with all of our vendors. And when you're a distributor, you're buying at a 20 or 25% discount. And then when we equip these and set them up for short-term rentals, a lot of those purchases will be done online, and we will be affiliates. As an affiliate, again, you get a 20% discount. And the crazy thing about being an affiliate is the IRS says that if you're selling those products, the first one's free. You get to write it off. All of these strategies are going to benefit our phase 1 partners. We will go on and build phase 2, phase 3. Phase 2 and 3 will be a separate limited partnership, and those people will be paying our development company to build it and our hospitality company to manage it. If you're in on phase one, you're making money on everything from that point on. So it's a tremendous advantage. We estimate it at 10 million. I've taken a good hard look at this, and I believe that we can build all 12 facilities for under 10. We can put all the beds in, all the furniture, put it all together. My stake is 50%. I own the land right now, fee simple. The land is held by a limited liability company in California. I pay California $800 a year for that asset protection of an LLC. And that LLC becomes my capital contribution to the limited partnership that you're buying 50% of. I have the plans for construction, I have the team, I have the business opportunity. That's how this deal is coming together. So the initial approach here is we're really trying to find one person to be 50%. And if you did that, not only would you be able to use all 8 for a week each year, but you would also be able to use all of the barter points. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a bit, but my wife and I have been a member of Luxury Home Exchange for 23 years. We used to let people, other owners of beautiful resort homes and vacation homes, they could come and stay at River Gables. And we collected points, and then you trade those points with other members of the club. The club charges a very small fee. It's a 10% cash fee for making your reservations. But let me give you an example of what we did. We wanted to go to the beach, so we called up Rachel at the club and said, hey, we want to go to the beach. She said, do you want to fly or drive? I said, I'd prefer to drive. She said, how about going down to near Camp Pendleton down there? We have a resort. It's a Four Seasons resort, this is a villa, so it's got 2 bathrooms, kitchen, bathroom, king-size suite, 2 balconies. Normally it rents for $1,700 a night at the Four Seasons, but for 5,000 points, it can be yours for a week. I said, Rachel, how many points do we have? She goes, 35,000. I go, oh, for sure, we want to do that. So she takes 5,000 points from our account. I wrote her a check for $500. We pull into the Lowe's the Four Seasons Resort. It's a timeshare. Beautiful, beautiful suite. Had daily room service, enjoyed the restaurants, enjoyed the full resort for a full week for $500 and 5,000 points. When I left, I said, Rachel, how many points do you have left? And she goes, you have 30,000, Larry. I go, oh, we got to travel more. So we're planning on using that strategy with this resort. So after we build it, it's going to take us about a year to build all of this. Maybe a little more, but pretty close to a year. After we build it, when that resort opens, each of our private resort homes will be generating 7,000 points per week. We have 8, that's 56,000 points. And also, when we rent them, it generates $56,000. So as the price of our rentals go up, the quantity of our points also go up. And then you go on their website and you find where you want to go. You want to go to Spain, Portugal, South Africa, all over the world. And you find a house, and then Rachel reserves it, and you take the points from your account, and you go have a wonderful vacation. So back to the governance, and we're going to have a limited partner advisory committee, and I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm looking forward to making the operating agreement for the limited partnership fully able to operate our entire project for 100 years. Our goal is to make that operating agreement such that our CPA, who's controlling the cash flow and paying the taxes and keeping the reserve accounts and managing it for us. Our goal is to have that CPA be able to say yes to our future generations, or no, that's not allowed. We want to keep this in our family for a long, long time. Now, you as a limited partner, if you had a 6.25% share, or if we do go to the 20 different individual investors, you're welcome to sell your individual limited partnership, but this resort is going to stay in play. In my family business, we put in a clause that will stop anyone in the future from ever denying their future generations my legacy by them taking money out. So in order to keep anyone from selling the resort, taking the cash so that they can greedily spend it all on themselves and denying all my future heirs of the benefit of this legacy, we put a clause in there. And it says anytime the family can vote by majority vote to sell it. And if they sell it, all the proceeds will go to charity. And by putting that clause in there, I guarantee you there will not be one future heir of the Findletons that will ever want to end it. Okay, we will put provisions in the operating agreement that will allow the resort to be sold should we not make our revenue, should we become any kind of a burden. And under that case, the resort would be sold and liquidated, and then each of the limited partners would get their percentage of the proceeds. So that's how this is going to work. This is what the spreadsheet looks like. There's a company called Vodacy that teaches people how to do short-term rentals on their own. And they do a beautiful job of instructing you how to go through this process. And I've learned a lot from them. And I'm using their 5-year property pro forma. You fill in the numbers and it comes back and it calculates for you what your cash on cash return is. And so with a $10 million investment, an occupancy rate of 70%, okay, this property returns a 14.29% cash on cash return. The cap rate is also 14.29, and the internal rate of return using the total cash flow equity or total cash invested is close to 35%, 34.29%. I'll provide you with all these documents and you can test these. It is an active Excel spreadsheet, so you can say, well, what happens if we get to 80% or 90% or 100%? What happens if we change the family contribution from $250 to $350 per family? Now, I chose $250 arbitrarily, and I came up with that. And what it does is the average short-term rental is $309 a night. That average gets you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath tract house someplace in the city. You're not on a 5-acre gated estate, but that's what it costs. So I wanted to be below that, and my goal was to have it so that whoever finds out that they can get this for $250 actively finds our other 3 clients. And then our limited partnership collects 4 times the revenue after having built each of these properties for less than what you could buy that 3-bedroom, 2-bath tract house for in California. These homes will have a perceived value by our rentals of somewhere between $1.5 million to $2 million based on California numbers. They won't cost us anywhere near that to build under our strategy here, and I can go through all those details with you. So the use of the funds, the real estate limited partnership will own 100% of Rocky Ledge Development and Hospitality, and the Rocky Ledge Estates is the LLC, and it makes the capital contribution to the new real estate limited partnership. That gives us 8 estates that are build ready. Everything is approved. Water, power's at the curb, paved streets. This is all ready to go. It's all been perk tested. The pads are in. Everything is ready to go. We're going to be using all new construction, largely concrete. The Rome was built out of concrete, and it's been around for a while. Our goal is to make these long-lasting buildings. We're putting aluminum shingles on the roof, and I think they're rated to 170 miles per hour winds, and they will last a very, very long time, in addition to being fireproof. So the Company Cam app is an online app that we'll use during the construction phase, and then when we open the resort, we were going to switch that app over to a company called Hostaway, and they're a fantastic company. I can tell you, speak all day about that. But the beautiful thing about our design is with K1, you avoid double taxations. We're taking the profit out of California and giving it to our shareholders, who then report that profit on their income tax. That's how it works. Talk to your CPA. There will be one CPA operating on our business, and they are going to be controlled completely by our operating agreement, and you get to review that operating agreement with us. The equestrian resort. I've looked all over California, and there's a number of very nice horse resorts out there, but most of them are cabins or old ranches, things like that. These are going to be state-of-the-art, beautiful luxury estates, and I think we're going to do very well with the ability to have up to 16 guests, 4 equal suites, gated entrances, off-road parking, bring your trailers, your boats, your motorcycles, your ATVs, our proximity to all of those locations. I didn't really mention Lake Britain, but right below Bernie Falls is Lake Britain. It's part of that MacArthur State Park, and that is the most beautiful lake ever. It's always full. You know how summer lakes, you have to walk through 20 yards of muck to get down to the water's edge in the summer when the water's warm enough to swim? Lake Britain is the opposite. It's always full. It's always beautiful, and great for houseboats, paddle boats, sailboats, fishing, all of those kind of things. And then Hat Creek, if you Google it, that is one of the famous fishing spots. It's like an angle. The fly fisherman's dream is Hat Creek and that area, Fall River Mills. So this is a very long duration. You don't hear this very often in investment opportunities. People have 5-year, ROIs. This one is going to be over 100, maybe 200. There's a company in Japan that's 150 years old. I love that about the Japanese and how they keep it going. And you know what it is? It's a construction company. So it's been through many, many generations, and we can do it too if we build our operating agreement correctly. Weddings is a big, big target for us. Destination weddings. Imagine being able to get your family together from all over the world. People are pretty spread out these days, but you take 1 week and you move in, and each family stays in one of our private resort homes, and there's up to 16 with kids in each of those homes. And with 8, we can have a group of 128, and then when we build the resort even more, that number keeps going up. Remember I told you we're building a shop? After the construction is done, at the end of the first year, that large storage bay where we process all the building materials gets cleaned out, and we turn it into the ballroom for weddings. That's where there will be a buffet line. The commercial kitchen will be in that facility, and we will be leasing that building to the father of the bride. When the father of the bride leases our shop facility or our event center, they assume all the liability with the lease, and they can serve alcohol, and they can play music and do all of the things they want to do at their daughter's wedding. So this is an incredible opportunity. Weddings is going to be a big part of it, and probably our third year or second or third year into the short-term rental, we will book out the whole resort. And you as a limited partner your task is really to introduce your friends and colleagues and things to our opportunity. When you do that, you have them contact our concierge who takes care of everything. There will be no direct compensation. We're not paying a commission to you, but that's your ticket if you want to be able to deduct the business expenses associated with being in the travel and hospitality business. So one of the strategies that's out there right now, we want to go after incentive trips and masterminds and conventions and things like that. We do have an airfield that's 16, 17 minutes away. The military built it during World War II to land as a practice range, so it can land any size aircraft. So private jets or private chartered aircraft land 17 minutes away from our property, and it's a beautiful area. If you want to fly into a commercial place, an international airport, Reno is 2.5 hours south. And as you drive north, after about a half hour, you're in National Forest, and it's a beautiful drive. And we're 4 hours away from the Bay Area or Sacramento, so it's a great location. And my point here about allocate retirement savings and avoid the fees, I'm telling you, this is really key to our strategy, because once real estate becomes equity, it no longer changes title when you pass away. Okay, you can settle your estate and your family business gets to continue. That's a very nice thing. So there it is. There's a picture of what the artist rendition is of what our short-term rental looks like. It is a very simple building to put up. The concrete walls are, like I said, Legos that are put up by any mason, 9'2", and then we put the truss up. There will be a metal roof. We do have a porte-couture out front, so there's the ability for our guests to park out of the rain or the weather and things. And you can see what our floor plan looks like up there with that center courtyard. We're going to put a fire pit in that courtyard. We're going to put barbecues. We're going to put a spa. And when you're in that courtyard and your dogs and kids are running around, you don't have to worry about any critters coming into your world. And you can laugh as loud as you want because you're surrounded by soundproof walls. And isn't that what everybody wants to do on vacation? So look at all of that national forest. Unbelievable. It's the perfect place for this. So I said this before, I'll say it again, but when real estate's owned as an asset in your family-owned business, then your family CPA manages the K-1, and that's totally up to you. Once we issue that K-1, it's your business, how you do it. One of the strategies might be, if you're using your retirement funds, you could do this through a self-directed IRA. And from what I'm being told, if you do it as a self-directed IRA and invest in the stock, when the K-1 is issued, then that money, that profit, can go back into your self-directed IRA tax-free. Now, you're going to pay taxes on it when you take it out, so it's totally up to you how you want to do it. But it's going to be, I think, a very, very exciting project. This is our legal and compliance statement. We're not selling you this. This is an opportunity. It's for you to look into it, but we have to qualify under Section 10 of the Securities Act of 1933 as amended. And that's what this legal disclaimer is all about here. So I told you a little bit about the Great Shasta Rail Trail. It is an amazing thing. The Shasta Trust is doing incredible work in the valley, in the Fall River Mills Valley. They're getting all of these 100, 200, 300, 400 acre ranches to agree that they will never be subdivided. They can always be a ranch, they can always operate, they can sell it, they can give it away in their family, but these ranches will remain ranches. And I think they have 65,000 acres in the Fall River, in Shasta County, that is already committed to not being turned into a Walmart or parking lot. So your call to action is do your due diligence. You sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement. I open up our data room. You get to see all our research, all of our drawings, all of our paperwork. You help us approve the operating agreement. Once we agree and we sign that, then it's funded. And once this thing is funded, it's going to take us about a year to build it. And during that year, you're going to take a very large tax write-off. And whatever you don't use the first year rolls forward, so it just keeps going. You're going to get all of that back in a deduction. And then we recruit our few remaining team members and move this thing to the next level. So if you have any questions at all, you can get a hold of us. Best email is sales@Rocky Ledge Estates. And those are our two websites. There's Rocky Ledge. I do want to mention UncleLuckyLarry.com because that's a big strategy for our marketing. Uncle Lucky Larry is a long-form YouTube channel. And during the construction, we're going to be featuring our team building it. We're going to feature the community and the surrounding area. All of that will build brand awareness and help people know we're there and get excited and get on the waiting list. So once we start and open the resort as a short-term rental, then each of the private resort homes will be given a Go3 video camera, and they'll be encouraged to videotape their family's vacation. As they go on the their weekend, when they're out there having a great time, these are some of the things they're going to see. And during that vacation, they grab these videos. At the end of each day, they bring it back to the concierge who downloads the data, and then we're going to turn that into a long-form video that will allow people to watch our channel and see families uniting and companies competing and weddings. That's Lake Britain. Isn't that beautiful? We're going to use this steel fencing too that's long lasting. Mount Shasta. This is up in Fall River Mills. That's one of the streets. That is President Way. We are 4 seasons in this area, so we have beautiful winters for snowmobiling or snowboarding. We have beautiful springs. We have incredible trails. And like I mentioned, the Pacific Crest Trail is something that's pretty exciting as well. So if you'd like to connect, you can do it through UncleLuckyLarry.com. Once again, that is primarily for the promotion. And what we believe is that once we get this resort open and people become aware of it, we think we can really push our occupancy rates up into that 90 to 100% range. That's certainly going to be our goal. I know that with 5-star reviews and good pricing, this thing's really going to take off. So please give me a call. That's my personal telephone number. Feel free to call at any time. I look forward to chatting with you and welcoming you to the legacy of a lifetime. I think this is going to really be something that our great grandchildren are going to look back at and thank you and I and our limited partners for making this opportunity available to them. And let's make it a legacy, and let's help improve all of humanity one family at a time. When our guests get there and they sit around a fire, a campfire, and aunts meet their nieces and uncles meet their nephews, and grandparents educate everyone, and you share family meals together, it makes for a really lasting memory. And we will improve the world one family at a time with this type of a arrangement. So I encourage you to join us. Thanks for listening. Take care.